Hey everybody, it's Anthony here. It's Saturday, March 1st. I'm standing in front of the Alamo. There are a whole bunch of street preachers out here today. A street preacher named Jesse is out here. I heard that he was coming to San Antonio and coming downtown, so I kind of figured he might be heading in front of the Alamo today. So I think I'm going to have my hands full with a lot of conversations. Hopefully I can get these people away for a little one-on-one and show you the results, so wish me luck. How's it going? Are you planning to get up there as well and speak?
Oh yeah, I was up there.
Yeah?
I started off the meeting.
Oh, you were? My name's Anthony.
I'm Jesse.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I've seen you online and seen a couple of your videos.
Oh, cool.
I'm actually, I live here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Are most of the people that are preaching today, are they here in San Antonio?
Yes, they're all local.
They are local? Okay, yeah. Cool.
They're from, they're
all like all these people here?
Yeah, a lot of them are Chi Alpha.
Do you mind if I videotape our conversation? Is that cool? All right, cool.
Yeah, they're with a lot of them are Chi Alpha. Oh, sure. What do you need prayer for?
Turn away from sin and do
Okay.
She wants me to pray for her.
Of course, yeah.
You have dishonored your creator.
Pardon? Anthony.
Luis, nice
Yeah,
to meet you.
hey, nice to meet you too.
Yeah, we're a part of the
You are? Okay, cool. So I just had a conversation with Jesse, but a woman called him away that wanted to pray with him. So he's over there praying with her right now. And there's another street preacher that just started right now. So I don't know how easy it's going to be to get Jesse away from these people. I think they're kind of maybe following his lead a little bit. But I'm going to see if I can see when he's leaving back for Tyler, Texas, and then see if I can schedule some time to do a little maybe one-on-one with him.
I have done this. It is possible. You can come to the cross. You can stop drinking. You can stop fornicating. You can stop lying. You can stop committing adultery. You can stop dishonoring your mother and your father.
Is that common to be asked to pray with somebody, like just a stranger like that?
No, but actually she really didn't want prayer. She wants someone to give her money.
Oh, okay. Everyone has a motive, I guess.
Yeah.
So all these people though live here in San Antonio?
A lot of them are students at the campus. They're part of the Chi Alpha student group.
Would you, what I've been doing for the last 5 or 6 weeks, I've been actually coming downtown and talking with street preachers.
Oh, are there a lot of street preachers that come here?
Not on Saturdays. Usually Sundays is sort of the day that they come out. So I usually come out for about 4 hours between like noon and 4 o'clock. And I've talked to maybe 5 or 6 of them on camera because I'm really just trying to understand why they believe what they believe, and because they seem very, their convictions are very strong.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I wonder who comes out here. I didn't know anyone.
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know what church they're from. I've got a couple of their tracks, but there's Mormons, there's Jehovah's Witnesses, there's a lot of Christians that come out.
Real marketplace of religion out here.
It is. But I was wondering, before you head back, I know you're doing your thing with your group right now, so I don't want to intrude on that, but is there a chance where we might be able to get away and just sit down for maybe 20 or 30 minutes and just discuss your beliefs?
Well, I mean, I can do it now, and that's about, that's probably about it.
Okay. Are you heading back tonight, or you got something going on tomorrow?
I'm leaving tomorrow morning, and I'm fellowshipping with them tonight. So.
Okay. I'd be willing to meet with you for breakfast or something, and I don't want to interfere with what you're doing with the kids, with the younger group.
I mean, you're not interfering right now. I mean, we've probably got 20 minutes.
Okay, awesome.
Right,
well, hopefully, we can just kind of maybe hear him over the.
We can go to the side if you.
That'd be awesome. Let's do that. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, so we're gonna walk away a little bit further from that street preacher. It's gonna be a little bit quieter over here. So here we go. And again, man, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And my name's Anthony.
Yeah.
So, I've been watching a couple of your videos, and like the most recent one that you did was in like Texas. Texas State. And you said something which contradicted what a lot of the street preachers that I've been talking to say. They said they're very quick to say, you're born a sinner. And you can look at a little baby and you can see it reaching for a lollipop, so you know right away that it's a sinner. But I do remember you saying
only sinners like lollipops.
But I remember you saying like something to the effect of like, we're not born sinners.
Yeah.
Did I just misunderstand that, or was that really your position?
Sin is a choice of the will. And when a baby that's born hasn't made any choices yet. Their moral character is innocent. Even if they inherit a nature that inclines them to commit sin, even if that was the case, you're not a sinner for having an inclination to sin. You're a sinner if you actually commit sin. And so I contend that babies are morally innocent until they know right from wrong and choose to do what is wrong.
So on that point, I would think you would differ from pretty much all the street preachers that I've heard out here, is that they say, you're born into sin, and you don't have a choice in the matter, basically.
Well, the street preachers that are out right now don't believe that.
Okay. Are you a specific denomination?
No, non-denominational, independent.
But under the Christian.
Now we do believe there's consequences for the sin of Adam. We inherit death from Adam. Even an innocent baby will suffer death because Adam had us removed from the tree of life. We don't have access to that fruit, so our bodies will die. But sin itself is our own fault, though we are born into a sinful world. We're around sinful influences. The devil is active and tempting us. Nevertheless, it's our own fault. If we sin, it's our fault.
Yes. Okay. So I have to tell you, I'm what people would call a skeptic. I really value evidence, or sufficient evidence. I try to live my life believing in as many things that are true.
You're not a Christian?
I'm not a Christian at all.
And you watch my YouTube videos?
Yes. Yeah, I'm very interested in what y'all do.
How did you find the videos?
Honestly, I don't know.
How long have you known about them?
Maybe 6 months or so. Yeah. But I did see that, you said that you were heading down here and fellowshipping with a lot of people.
Are we friends on Facebook? Posted that on Facebook?
Yes. Yeah, I'm on your Facebook page.
Okay.
So I think that's where I saw it. And actually, I tried looking for information about this group and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually went to UTSA this morning because I thought that you would be there.
Yeah, no, I thought we'd be at campus, but we were actually at a church.
Well, it actually probably worked out better because there was like a race. They call it the diploma dash. There were like 2,000 people running today.
Okay.
So it probably worked out better that you weren't there.
Yeah.
But I was saying, like, I'm a skeptic. I need evidence. I try to believe as many things that are true and discard as many things that are false. What you were just saying about sin and Adam and Eve, these are things that I don't believe in because I haven't been convinced that they're actually true or not.
Sure.
And I know that you believe them.
Yeah.
Would you say that you believe them, or that you know them, that you know that that's true? Is it a very strong belief, or is it something that you know?
Oh, no, I would say it's a firm conviction. Absolutely.
So you would say that you know it? Because, like, I would define, there's a difference between belief and knowledge, where, like, let's say my phone rings and my daughter calls me and says our Doberman just got hit by a car. And I rush over there and I find out that she was just joking. So at one point I believed that my dog was hit by a car, but I didn't really know it. I didn't know it until I actually got there and saw the evidence that, she was laughing and the dog was jumping around and everything was fine. So again, would you say that it's a conviction that you know it, or is it something that you believe strongly?
No, I know it.
You know it?
I know it.
Okay.
Yeah, now when it comes to, say, the origin of our race, the origin of the universe, if you want to limit yourself to empiricism, you'll never come to an answer. Because none of us were there, and empirically you can't test it or reproduce it in a laboratory. So I think the origin of the universe, the origin of our race, it's outside of the limitation of empiricism. Now most skeptics would limit themselves to only what they can empirically prove, and so therefore you'd have to be an infinite skeptic. Now I would even go further and say empiricism is something you need to challenge, because how did you come to the knowledge of empiricism?
Exactly.
Certainly not through
Listen, I completely agree that there's not much that we can know. Yeah. And I think most skeptics...
But you know that.
That's right. Exactly. There's two things that I know. I know that I exist, and I know that I don't know everything.
How do you know that you exist?
Well, because I know. I can't demonstrate it to you, but I know that I exist, just like you would probably say that you know that you exist. Might I be a brain in a vat? Yes, but I would exist as a brain in a vat. So, but I don't want to lose my train of thought. I think scientists will readily say that they don't know how this all started.
Some of them.
Well, there's theories that that there's a Big Bang that started, or some scientists even say, well, maybe the universe just always was. There wasn't a start, or there can't be a before the Big Bang because time didn't exist at that point.
Yeah.
These are things that I'm willing to say as a skeptic. I'm comfortable saying I don't know, because I haven't been convinced that it's true. Abiogenesis, life coming from non-life, we don't know.
We've never seen it empirically.
We've never seen it, and but it may be happening on other planets right now. We just don't know it. Just like my example of the dog, being hit by the car. I might believe it's true, but I don't really know that life can come from non-life. It hasn't been proven conclusively that it's impossible.
Hey, if we've only seen life coming from life empirically, then certainly it's not a far stretch to say in the beginning God. Life came from Him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that you believe that strongly, and I know that you say, you're comfortable saying that you, I forget the term that you use, but you know it.
Yeah.
You're comfortable knowing
you said you know that I believe that, so you know something else apparently other than you can.
Well, no, but would you say that you just know it, or do you say that you believe it and you know it?
Well, I would say I know it, but the fact that you said you know that I know it shows that you.
Well, I
you
was
said
just
earlier you know that you don't know much. Or
right.
It just seems
Right, like I know it's a very nice day out. Like I might be wrong, and it's really a bad day, but it's an amazing, beautiful day today. It's a really beautiful day today. So, okay.
What would be your major questions, I suppose?
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is, you say that you know that your Bible's true, and I know that a lot of what you preach is based on your assertion that you know that the Bible's true. But I would contend that I don't think that it's something that you can really know. That I think it's something that maybe you just believe really strongly. Would you agree with that?
No. I think books are written for our knowledge on the basis that we can know for sure of their truthfulness.
But I mean, like there's the Quran, for example. There's the Mormons have their book. There's the Watchtower.
Well, the Bible, first of all, is not one book. It's 66 books,
right.
40 different authors.
Right.
And if you were
27 Old Testament, 39 New Testament.
Yeah. And if you go in a court of law, any witness or gives a testimony that's in his own favor, that has a tendency to discredit his testimony. But if a witness testifies contrary to his own favor, maybe even to his hurt, well, that gives credibility to his testimony.
Right.
And in the Bible, what we have is testimonies that resulted in the martyrdoms of the prophets, of the apostles. They testified to their own hurt, and they did it willingly. Peter willingly was crucified upside down, but by his own request, because he said he wasn't, worthy to be crucified the same way Jesus was. Mm-hmm. So here in the Bible, we have testimonies of these men who not only testified of what they merely believed in, like the, Muslim bombers in 9/11. They died for what they believed in.
Yeah.
But what these men died for is what they said they saw and heard. So they died for what they knew, not just for what they were hoping.
But that's what the Bible tells us. But me as a skeptic looking at it, I wouldn't say that anyone could really know that to be true. Would you say that there's an element of faith in your life, or are you going everything off of evidence, or is it both?
No, I don't think faith is blind. I don't think faith is unreasonable.
What is your definition of faith, Jesse?
Faith is trust. That's the definition of the Greek word. Faith means to trust or have confidence in.
Mm-hmm.
To have faith in God is not really acknowledging His existence. I would say His existence is obvious and evident. Faith in God is to actually trust Him.
Okay. But now, let's say there might be a Muslim walking by, looking at all the commotion that's going on over here, and I might pull him aside and ask him about his beliefs in the Quran, and he might tell me the same thing, that faith means trust to him, and he has faith in the Bible. So, how would I, as a skeptic, be able to differentiate between your version of faith and his version of faith? They both seem the same to me.
Yeah.
That they're both trust. He's trusting that the Bible's right.
I don't know how a Muslim would define faith. I've never asked.
I've actually heard them say that they define it as trust.
Well, if they do, well then they have a proper definition of faith. The problem is the object of their faith is different than mine.
Yes, but how am I supposed to know as an outsider, maybe trying to decide who's right?
Yeah, well, God gave you a mind, and He wants you to use it.
And I'm open to being convinced.
You ought to examine the claims of Christianity, and examine the claims of Islam,
Mormonism, etc.
I have problems with Islam for many reasons. First of all, they deny the Trinity, and if God is just a unity, then God is dependent upon creation for relationships. So then you'd have a so-called infinite God who's dependent upon finite beings. That would seem like a contradiction.
Yeah, I've heard other preachers say that just because Jesus didn't, or just because the Prophet Muhammad, what do they say? He didn't rise to heaven, or he wasn't the Son of God. That therefore he's just a prophet, and
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't a prophet. He was a false prophet.
Yeah.
But so there are you'd call systemic contradictions within their system.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Christianity is true, and if something is true, it will be without contradiction.
Well, there are a lot of contradictions in the Bible.
And that's something else you know?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I read the Bible quite a bit, and I try to be familiar with the differences. I mean, like,
So you're not really skeptical on many things then?
actually, I'm skeptical on everything, and
Are you skeptical on the fact that there's contradictions in the Bible?
yes.
So
Yeah.
there might not be any contradictions.
I mean, you might be able to show me that there's not, but everything that I've seen by investigating do show that there
I would
are.
admit that there's at first glance apparent contradictions.
Yeah.
You
Like
know.
what? Can you name one that comes to your
Sure.
mind? I mean, I can name a couple too.
Judas hung himself,
Oh, right.
and then it also says like it's he fell head first off of a cliff.
Yes.
So well which is
Right,
it?
right.
Did he hang himself or did he fall?
So
I don't see any incompatibility between these two. If you hang yourself, say on a tree branch, the branch breaks and
Yeah.
you die, or nobody cuts you off, nobody cuts you down, and you just deteriorate and fall
Yeah.
down. I mean,
Okay.
it's not an irreconcilable.
right. In the end, right. The outcome was the same. The guy died. But there are other contradictions where, like, what was the one? I think it's maybe Mark says that when they go to Jesus' tomb, there's just a woman goes there and there's a little boy in there. He says that Jesus is gone. Maybe it's not Mark, but then you look
it's
at.
not a boy.
but-
I think you need to relook.
Yeah, I might be wrong.
You
But
are
in one
wrong.
of the gospel,
it's an angel. One gospel will record. Oh, there was an angel, as if it was singular.
Yeah.
Another gospel said there was two angels.
yes.
Well,
And then
so
if you look at the book of John, it's like 20 women showed up there and they all reported that he was gone, or right.
No, I don't recall 20 women. But
More witnesses than just one boy.
discrepancy between one angel and two angels. I don't see that as an irreconcilable contradiction. If there's two, then there's at least one. And so one simply makes mention. You could say, I came out today and there is a preacher out here in the area. Another person might say,
Right.
oh, there's a group of preachers.
Yeah.
Well, you would both be right. You're just emphasizing
Yes.
different aspects.
Yeah, but we're not talking about preachers standing out here. We're talking about like an extraordinary claim would require extraordinary evidence. This is an extraordinary claim that somebody would rise from the dead
Yeah,
and
well,
ascend to heaven.
We have multiple testimonies of it, and that's the thing about the Bible. Like the Quran is just one book. The Bible being 66 books. If you only have one testimony, say if I testify to myself, I walked on water today.
Yeah.
Well, it's not credible. I'm testifying
Right.
to myself. But if there's a group of people saying, man, I saw that guy walking on water,
Yes.
and there's a group of them reporting this, well, then that seems to lend credibility that something happened.
And I would agree, but
Something happened.
And I would agree, but when we look at scholars that study the Bible, the general consensus is that they're not first-hand accounts. That Mark was written about 40 years after the death of Jesus. That
Why wouldn't that be a first-hand account?
because he was dead, because Jesus was dead.
Well, sure. Jesus did not write any gospel.
Jesus died when he was 33.
But most people write their autobiographies when, at the end of their life. Doesn't mean it's not accurate.
So maybe Mark was,
So Mark
a teenager or something. Maybe when he saw
a young man when he
or met Jesus.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I don't see a problem.
But if you look at the other three books, Matthew and Luke and then John, those are all written, several decades after Jesus passed away. But again, I don't really want to get into a Bible debate. Let me just say that, I as a skeptic, I'm open to being convinced that your God exists. He may. I'm open in that regard. And I've told all the preachers that I've met with as well. I'm open to being convinced that your God exists, that the Bible's true. If there's sufficient evidence to convince me otherwise.
What evidence were you even looking for?
I think if your God existed and knew me and knew my heart and knew my brain, He would know what it would take to convince me. I don't think I could actually verbalize what it would be.
See, I believe God's already given us sufficient evidence, and your unbelief is not a result of lack of evidence, but despite all of the evidence. And if you really had a pure heart, you would know God.
I mean, my heart pumps blood, and
I'm using heart as a metaphor, figurative language.
Like for my brain?
I'm talking about the motives and intentions of your.
I mean, I'm coming out here on Sundays. I would have to tell you that, man to man, I'm looking at you.
I think
I am open. I am willing to be
there's
convinced.
More than sufficient evidence that, first of all, that there is a God. If you don't even believe that there is a God, ultimately everything that we see is evidence or proof that there is a God.
Everything around us, like the trees.
Anything finite is proof of the infinite, because the finite cannot exist on its own. The finite requires the infinite first cause.
How do you know this?
Well, it's by constitution of my mind, laws of logic, that if it has a beginning, it needs a cause. That's a self-evident truth.
Well, did God ever have a beginning?
No.
So therefore, He wasn't cause. Is what your argument is?
So He would not need a cause.
But would you say is that something that you?
Anything that has a beginning would require a cause. That's
Would you say that that's something that you know? I mean, could you be convinced? let me just get.
Could I be convinced that
Yeah.
there is a finite existence without a cause?
Yes.
No, that
No.
that would be a natural impossibility. It's
Okay.
illogical.
So I told you that I'm open to be convinced, that the God that you are preaching about exists.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, let's say that a scientist, all the scientists in the world have been studying the Bible, and we know, after a decade of study, we can show conclusively that Jesus never existed, and the Bible and the God that you've been believing in is false. Just hypothetically.
Because there's a lot of Christian scientists.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's a lot of young Earth creationists and that type of thing.
Well, Isaac Newton, for example.
Yep. In his day, he was a believer.
Oh, yeah.
So, if we had this evidence that would show that your God didn't exist, would you be willing to sit down like we're doing right now and just examine it?
Well, sure. If anyone can prove that God does not exist, let me see it. But I can tell you off the bat, there's no such proof could possibly exist.
Well, I want to commend you for saying that you would listen to that evidence. I think that's
No, I would
great.
be interested to hear what they would have to say.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that it might change your mind.
I'm not saying that I would lend it any credibility or that I'm interested because I might be wrong. It's just that would be an amusing argument.
But what do you mean by that? Because, we know that, what are those Sasquatches? We know that
God is a spiritual being.
Yeah.
So you can't empirically prove him
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that most empiricists are looking for. So to say
You can't prove God?
you have tangible proof that God does not exist.
Right.
What kind of tangible?
Well,
proof could
exactly.
you even come up
Exactly,
with?
because I could say that there's a pink unicorn and it circles the galaxy and that's what created us all. You wouldn't be able to disprove that. So, but what I'm saying, let's say we found the tomb that actually Jesus was in, and we find bones of a man that was Jesus. We can conclusively, do DNA testing and show that, Jesus really didn't rise from the dead.
We don't really know his
But
DNA.
I'm just saying. But would you be willing to sit down and listen to that evidence?
Yeah, if someone found the body of Jesus, I'd be interested in that. But of course, it's never going to happen because he rose from the dead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's not. That's good. It does sound like you would be willing to at least listen to the evidence. It might not convince you. Is that a fair assessment, or would you not even be willing? I guess I want to just fully understand.
No, I especially like to study the arguments and positions of those who are opponents of Christianity, so that I know how to address them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to study. I like Bertrand Russell, Why I'm Not a Christian.
Yeah.
I have that in my library and I like to read through it.
That's good.
Sure.
So you're open to that. That's awesome.
Well,
That's really
I'm not
good.
open to the idea that they might be right. I'm open to study it to know what their position is, so that I know how to address it.
So let's talk about falsifiability just a little bit, and I can let you get back to your group. And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate.
I hope it helped you.
Yeah, I think so. The theory of evolution could be thrown on its ear if we found a human skull in the Cretaceous period. It would completely destroy the theory of evolution. I gave you an example of where we might be able to find the bones of Jesus and be able to use DNA testing and conclusively show.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, you can quote unquote come up with any hypothetical.
Yes.
I mean,
but have you ever considered what that evidence? Just like you asked me, what would that evidence be to show me that a God existed?
Yeah.
What would the evidence look like that would convince you that a God didn't exist, that your God didn't exist? Have you ever considered that there might be something that could ever be shown to you?
I mean, yeah. If you can show that there's absolutely no order or design in the universe, if you could show that there's absolutely no necessity for the infinite to exist in order for the finite to exist, if you could show that. I mean, ultimately, I think you'd have to disprove my own existence. Because, like you said, you know that you exist because of your consciousness. You're conscious of your own existence.
Yes.
Well, I am conscious of my existence, but I'm equally consciousness of God.
Yes, but
and so in order to prove to me that there is no God, you'd have to ultimately disprove my own consciousness. You'd have to prove to me that I don't exist.
Okay.
So
that'd be your only evidence.
Well, you'd have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm conscious of the existence of God.
What if it was revealed to you that a God did exist, but it was actually Allah, the God of the Quran? Would you accept that? If I'm not a Muslim. I'm not trying to convert you. These are just hypotheticals.
Yeah, you can argue hypotheticals.
Yeah.
It's kind of pointless, but yeah, I mean, if you could absolutely prove to my mind, without a shadow of a doubt, that Allah was God, well, by necessity of constitution of my mind, I'd have to believe it.
Yeah, and same thing with me. If it was proven that the Christian God existed, I would have to repent my sins and get on my knees and all that stuff.
God exists through the existence of the finite, through the the intricate design and complexities of this universe, all of the order of the universe is indicative of mind. The solar system, ecosystem, reproductive system, digestive system. It's all indicative of intelligence.
Well, we have
mind.
cancer, and you're wearing glasses, and we have.
Well,
these are not perfect designs.
Well, no, it is. It's even glasses is proof of design and intelligence. My glasses is proof of intelligence.
I would say humans design your glasses.
The argument of Christianity is not that the universe is perfect. That the universe is corrupted and fallen. And so the imperfections of our universe actually does not discredit our argument whatsoever.
You feel like it leads more credence to it?
Well, yeah, that our doctrine is in accordance with the nature of reality. Sure.
Okay.
Hey, running, catch up with them.
And it does sound like faith isn't that big of a deal to you? That it's more evidence-based than your belief in the Bible?
Well, hey, if you define faith as just blindlessly believing
No,
in something,
I'll give you my definition. My definition of faith is belief without evidence, or pretending to know something that you don't know.
Yeah.
Now, you may have a different...
Well, that's why I don't believe in evolution. I don't have faith.
Well, I don't have faith in evolution either.
Yeah.
I have a reasonable expectation based on the evidence that scientists
I've examined the evidence, and I do not see any proof whatsoever that we all evolved from some common ancestor, or that we evolved from anything other than humans. That we came or descended from anything but humans. So I don't because of my unwillingness to blindly believe in something, I don't believe in evolution.
But if you were to see evidence,
but I would say my faith is based on evidence, on reason, on facts, on logic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know that the theory of evolution is a fact, that we really did evolve.
No, we don't.
We absolutely do.
No, we don't.
We
not
do.
Even close. It cannot be proven.
It has been proven in the lab. It's an accepted scientific fact.
Oh, you've been brainwashed.
No. But
how did they prove it in a laboratory that we evolved?
They've done some experiments with one with fruit fly comes to mind, but there's been about 50 experiments that actually show.
Are you talking about microevolution or macroevolution?
No, there's no difference.
Sure, there is.
The only difference is time.
Yeah, well, I can get a suntan. That doesn't mean I evolved from a microorganism.
Well, that's not how evolution works.
Adaptation to your environment, micro changes, and that does not prove macroevolution. That would be what you would call a logical fallacy.
Well, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty, but evolution is a fact.
It's not.
The theory of evolution is a fact, just like the theory of gravity, for example.
No, it's the story of the Little Mermaid, the half human, half fish that became a real human.
That's not how.
It's the story of the Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
it's a fairy tale.
If you're telling me that, it kind of makes me think that maybe you don't fully understand the theory. Would you be willing to maybe one day do a trip to the museum with me to learn about evolution?
Oh, yeah, no,
would you be open to it?
In fact, I wrote a review of a museum that promoted
Which
evolution.
one did you go to?
The Morrell Museum, the new one in Dallas. They just built it.
Oh. You know what? I'm going to Dallas in 2 or 3 weeks for a volleyball tournament.
Yeah, well,
not me and my daughter.
It's called the Perot. It's P-E-R-O-T Museum.
Okay.
It's got evolution everywhere.
Is it funded by the Koch brothers?
It's privately funded.
I think I may have read something about that recently. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wrote a review.
Is it on your blog?
Yes.
Okay.
I called it a review of the Perot Sci-Fi Museum.
Yeah.
I called it Sci-Fi, and I had a picture of a monkey or animal evolving and becoming erect, and the typical image, and then it ends with Wolverine with claws. So anyway, I wrote a whole review and critique.
I'd love to read it. Yeah, because
they argued that birds evolved from dinosaurs. The evidence that they presented was that both dinosaurs and birds have hollowed bones. And they take that.
The feathers.
And some dinosaurs supposedly, not many, but some dinosaurs supposedly had feathers.
Yes.
And they will look at these similarities and conclude, evolution. I look at these similarities and just think of common designer. A Ford truck and a Chevy truck can be quite similar, but that doesn't mean that one evolved from the other. Similarity does not necessitate evolution, but that was the evidence they provided, was look at the similarities between dinosaurs and birds.
Yes.
That's a fallacy.
Now, the thing that I love about the scientific method is that it's open for new evidence. Like, I gave you the example, if we found a human skull in a Cretaceous period, scientists would be willing to revise their opinions. And from what I've been gathering by talking to a lot of street preachers, and you might be the only exception, there might be one other person, that you would be willing to change your mind if you were to get some sort of evidence, like the scientific method in that regard.
I'll tell you one thing, I've been on over 100 universities and colleges across the nation. I've talked to countless atheists, evolutionists, and none of them have ever been able to change my mind.
But your mind is open?
Yeah, I consider myself a rational being. I'm saying my mind is governed by rationale as God designed it to be so. But despite that fact, none of them have ever been able to persuade me.
I don't know how we got on the topic of evolution. I'll have to review the video to remind myself. But what is it about evolution that worries you? Like, I think I have an idea. I could probably sum it up in like 3 sentences.
Well, obviously, it contradicts the Bible, first of all.
Yeah.
Secondly, we all came from animals. I think we lose our inherent value and worth. Then it leads to ideas like the Aryan race and the Holocaust. The Nazis believed they were more evolved than the Jews, and black people are just monkeys or apes and lesser evolved. And so, for the good of the world, you exterminate the lesser creatures, and survival of the fittest type of a mentality applied to government. That certainly is a problem.
Like, I would go so far as to also say that, if the evolution is a fact, which I'm comfortable with the explanation that science gives that it is a fact. I know that we disagree on that point, but that would mean that there's no Adam and Eve. There would be no Garden of Eden, no fall of man.
I don't think science has a basis.
No need for Jesus.
Science itself has no basis if there is no God, because then you're left with the empiricism is just your 5 senses. But on what basis do you trust the accuracy of your 5 senses to do scientific experiments if you were not designed by God? If you're just a product of dumb time and chance, a mere accident of the universe, your senses could be completely inaccurate and wrong, and so you have no basis to trust them or the experiments.
How did you come to that conclusion? That that we have to have a God in order for our 5 senses to be accurate.
To be accurate.
Yes, sir.
I don't perceive or comprehend how you can develop or evolve 5 senses to properly perceive reality if you were not designed by an intelligent mind. Again, if it's just mere dumb time and chance, all of your senses could be wrong. It could all be an illusion. It could, if God did not give them to you to perceive reality accurately and perceive it the way it is, I mean, you have no reason to believe that they're accurate any of the time. And if that's the case, there's no basis for science.
Yeah. So,
and as a skeptic, I think you should understand that.
Well, I would need to have some sort of sufficient evidence to make me reflect on the situation to convince me.
I think that if you're going to assert that your senses are accurate, then the burden of proof would be on you to give evidence that that's true.
Well, I think I could demonstrate that my eyes work and my hearing works.
So you think?
Yeah, I mean, you might doubt the results, but I think if, let's say, I let you pick a doctor, you bring your family doctor.
And I said the word accurate, not infallible. Obviously,
Are you infallible?
No, and we can make mistakes with our senses. Another reason why we should not put all our chips on empiricism, because of the possibilities of error, human error, and inaccuracies.
Yes, and that's why I kind of hinted at it before. I really like the scientific method because if new evidence comes in, we could revise our theories accordingly.
Well, I would say it's not that you need to come to the conclusion that there is a God through evidence, but that apart from presupposing God in the beginning, then you really have no basis to examine evidence for anything whatsoever.
Well, yeah, I get that. If you
God needs to be a starting point in your worldview for it to have a proper foundation for your 5 senses, for the use of logic and reason, to account for your own finite existence.
But what's different from you presupposing that there is a God, that everything else must come from that, with, say, that woman over there in the purple shirt presupposing that there really is no God, that this is all just a result of some fantastic coincidences over millions and billions of years?
Well, I'm saying if you don't have God as your starting point, then you have no basis of authority for trusting in the accuracy of your 5 senses, for accounting for the existence of finite beings or finite existence at all, any finite phenomenon. You would have certainly no basis for absolute morality, things that we all take for granted.
Do you feel that you get your morality from God or from the Bible or both?
I believe that moral truth is communicated as a revelation from God through our conscience. We all inherently know selfishness is wrong, that love is right. And it's not cultural.
I mean, I think selfishness could serve us fairly well if we were evolving on the plains and, we were little freaking rodents, and there were like some big velociraptor coming at us, and 8 of us dove for the same hole.
Well, I think you need to make a distinction.
You know, that could be a selective trait that would be quite desirable in the long run.
No, I think there's a difference between self-interest and selfishness. We ought to have a regard for ourselves, a self-interest. That's intelligent and rational. Selfishness ultimately tends to misery.
Well, yes, but I mean, I wouldn't kill somebody because I know that I would probably get killed in return. You know, I don't need a Bible to tell me that, or I don't think that would ever be legislated from a book.
Yeah, well, some people murder because they think they'll get away with it.
And some people do it for fun or for sport, right?
It's still wrong. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even if they think they're getting, it's still wrong. We know that morality is absolute. It's the reason that we condemn societies like the Nazis or the witch hunts, the Inquisition.
Yes.
If morality was just the invention of society, then no society could be morally wrong. Because there would be nothing transcendent of society that would be a basis to morally condemn it. So, morality can't just be an invention of society if we're going to condemn these things.
But I mean, the best example, of course, is slavery, right? You know, it's condoned in the Bible. It's talked about, how you can...
What type of slavery? You have indentured servitude.
Well, there's not indentured servitude.
No, there is. Yes, there is. And then they were released on the 7th year of Jubilee. There's different types of slavery. Well, there's a little...
Yes.
You can't just throw it all in as one.
But there's a little loophole in that, too, whereas if that slave gets married and they have kids, and the slave wants to remain married to the wife and the father of the kids, then he can still remain the slave. So I've heard the indentured servitude argument before, and it doesn't really seem like that's the case.
That's not the only type of slavery in the Bible. But there were also captives of war and taking them as slaves.
Let's just get rid of the S word completely and just say owning other people. The Bible does specify how you can go about owning somebody, even if it's for a short period of time. Now today we would never do that, or it might happen.
That's not true.
It happens, but our society condones it.
What do you think DCF
Our society doesn't condone it.
Yes, it does. DCF, where they take custody of these children.
Is it like Houston?
Or say prison inmates. Inmates are property of the state, and you can actually put inmates to work and pay them very little.
So that's sort of like it's a modern day version of slavery?
Oh, sure it is. Mm-hmm. Just like in Israel, if they went to war and they brought home captives of war, those are just like inmates.
Oh, interesting take on that.
And I think these inmates ought to work.
Yeah.
And get paid little or nothing.
But that's in your definition owned by like a government.
Oh, yeah.
For example, that's not like there's another person owning them.
No, and if the parent loses custody and the DCF, child custody takes them, and they're property of the state. The government owns them. The government is their custodian. Their guardian. Sure, and that's where their rights are.
Yes, but the slavery that I'm talking about is owning another human being for the purpose of getting them to work your fields.
The Bible actually gave more rights to slaves than any other society in the ancient world, and there were laws, like I said, in the 7th year Jubilee, all the indentured servants were released, their debts were automatically forgiven. If a slave fled his master because of cruelty and went to another city, he was allowed to stay in that city, and it was against the law for the city to try and return him. So, in fact, most of the laws that pertain to slavery in the Bible are actually for the protection of the slave himself. You could not beat your slave to death. In fact, if you killed a slave, you were put to death yourself. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. And so it's ultimately the foundation of the Bible that gave birth to the abolition of the slave trade, that God has created all men equally.
Yes.
And if that is true, God has created us all equally, that led to the abolition of the slaves.
Okay.
And that was recognized throughout the Bible, because if you kill a slave, then you lost your life. That means that slave was your equal, not economic equal, but your fellow human as your equal.
Okay.
And but if there is no God, what's wrong with slavery? We're just accidents of the universe, evolved and products of time and chance. And you have no inalienable rights given to you by God. So if I take you as a slave, how am I violating any rights? If all rights are civil rights, then the government can do what it pleases.
Yeah, see, that's what I like about a secular framework for morality, where it's designed in a context of the environment that you're living in, right? The laws of your state, the laws of your country. You want to act in a manner so that you're not causing harm to another person.
So you don't believe in inalienable rights given to us by God?
I don't believe that your God exists. Now, I might be convinced that he does. I would first need to be
then
convinced that he exists
so then-
before that I might be
So
convinced
then all rights are civil rights, given to us by the government,
that.
not by God, obviously.
I mean, governments change. You know, like, look at what's happening in Russia right now. You know, or Ukraine. So.
Well, so if the government said it's okay to take you as a slave, would that be wrong?
I would argue that it's not.
It's not
But
wrong.
I mean, governments don't generally work on that. At least democratic governments,
Well-
right? But if you look at North Korea, right?
Well, there's plenty of governments that have.
Yes.
And they may again.
Yeah.
So then by in your worldview, then you really you'd have no basis to condemn slavery, because there's no inalienable right inherent given to us by God. So it's not my worldview that really condones slavery. It's yours.
My worldview condones slavery, is what you're saying?
If a government says it's okay, then they're not really doing
Right. Well, I mean,
anything wrong.
we had governments that did condone it,
Yeah.
but you know, people rose up. You know, people started to understand the hardship that it creates, and you know, we're no longer doing that. You know, a secular moral system
even now,
evolves or changes over
I
time.
would say even now we're slaves to our national debt. In fact, we've sold our children into slavery. They're going to work.
I don't want to. I don't want to get into politics.
We're,
So we can.
we're indentured servants to China right now. Slavery is a fact of life even today.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. Thank you so much for your
What was your
time,
name?
Anthony.
I'm Jesse.
And can I use the video on YouTube? Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I
Cool.
assumed you would.
What was I gonna say? Is there? You want to?
Just
I'll give you the last word. You know.
Well, read your Bible.
I've read it.
Yeah.
I've read it many times. I don't find it to be credible.
Yeah.
I really
I
think
was talking to the people watching the video.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of atheists do watch this, so you're going to reach a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, you probably.
What's your YouTube account?
I think it's just my name, Anthony Magnabosco.
You got a lot of subscribers?
No.
trying to work on that?
Well, right now I'm keeping the videos private because I want to talk to as many street preachers as possible.
Are you going to upload as is? Or you're going to edit?
Pretty much as is.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and you know, maybe chop off some of the beginning there that I had, or you know, when I had the camera pointing down.
It's too bad you missed my preaching.
Will you be getting up again?
Yeah, I may.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Well, maybe I'll kind of buttress the video with a little bit of preaching at the front and then at the end, you know.
That'd be cool.
So.
If you will repent, the Bible says you don't have to perish. If you live in sin and die in sin, God will send you to hell, the everlasting lake of fire. The Bible says the worm dieth not, and the fire is never quenched.